Uh, Good morning to one and all present here. So let us begin today's national webinar on terahertz generation studies of NLO crystals, which is organized by the Department of Physics and Research of Neshamani Memorial Christian College, Marthandam. So before we begin the formal proceedings of the webinar, let me give you a brief account of the program. We begin the program with a welcome address by the head of the Department of Physics and Research Center, Dr. Sheila Christie. So after she welcomes the gathering, we have a presidential address by our principal, Dr. K. Paul Raj, which will be followed by a felicitation by our correspondent, Advocate L. Rajadurai. There is a then we'll have the session talk by Dr. I. Hubert Joe, Associate Professor of Physics, University of Kerala. And after the session, we'll have the question answer session, followed by vote of thanks by Dr. S.C. Jayakumar, Assistant Professor of the Department of Physics. So let me now invite the head of the Department of Physics, Dr. Sheila Christie, to welcome the gathering.
Good morning to you all. It gives great pleasure for me to welcome you all to this webinar on terahertz generation studies on NLO crystals organized by Department of Physics, Neshamani Memorial Christian College, Marthandam. Let me first express my gratitude to our Almighty Father for His presence, guidance, and wisdom to organize this seminar. Next, I welcome our correspondent, Advocate Rajadurai, who is very active. In spite of his busy schedule, he joined with us to felicitate us. I welcome you, sir. I also welcome our principal, beloved principal, Dr. Paul Raj, who motivated us to conduct this webinar and is also presiding this meeting. Welcome you, sir. Our today's chief guest is Dr. Hubert Joe, Associate Professor, University of Kerala. He has made a powerful contribution to the field of research and produced 18 PhDs. We are very proud that he is an alumnus of our college. I am sure this webinar will enrich us. On everyone who joined, on behalf of everyone who joined this meeting, I welcome you, sir. I also welcome Dr. Arul Das, Organizing Secretary of this webinar, who worked day and night to make this webinar a successful one. Next, I welcome IQAC Coordinator, Dr. Tibby Thomas, who is coordinating this program. I welcome my colleagues who are also a part of this webinar. I also welcome the students, research scholars, and faculty members who has taken keen interest to join this webinar. Once again, I welcome you all.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sheila Christie, madam, for the welcome address. Now, I invite our principal, Dr. K. Paul Raj, to give the presidential address.
Yes, sir, is audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible. Yes.
Yes, thank you, sir. Most beloved, respected and honorable Secretary and Correspondent of College, Advocate L. Rajadurai, Head of the Department of Physics and Research Center of our college, Dr. Sheila Christie, Organizing Secretary of this webinar, Dr. Arul Das, our IQAC Coordinator, Professor Tibby Thomas, today's resource person, our alumnus, Dr. I. Hubert Joe, former Head of the Department of Physics, Professor Devakumar Samuel, faculty members of Physics Department, other faculty members, research scholars, scientists, and students who are attending this national level webinar. First of all, on behalf of the NMCC family, I welcome you all. Really, it gives immense pleasure and happiness to deliver the presidential address in this online program entitled on Terahertz Generation Studies of NLO Crystals, organized by our physics department. Even though I am a student of botany, I came to know that this particular topic chosen for this present day webinar is a very recent topic. Terahertz represents the portion of the electromagnetic radiation between the microwave and the infrared region. Terahertz waves are non-ionizing, non-invasive, and penetrable to many materials with a depth of penetration lower than that of microwave radiation. Terahertz radiation also tends to be very sensitive to various kinds of resonance, such as vibrational, translational, rotational, and conformational states, enabling it to provide information on molecules that are accessible to with other analytical and imaging techniques. A terahertz source generates a wide range of terahertz radiation components such as lenses, mirrors, and polarizers manipulate the radiation, and a detector measures the radiation reaching it. The terahertz radiation is utilized in a variety of fields such as spectroscopy, photovoltaics, medicine, security screening, pharmacy, quality assurance, communication, and astronomy. I hope the presentation by our resource person and also the discussions and deliberations will give the new knowledge for all the participants. In this juncture, I thank and appreciate the Department of Physics and Research Center under the leadership of Dr. Sheila Christie for arranging this wonderful session for the benefit of the academic fraternity, and also thank the IQAC coordinator, Professor T.B. Thomas, as well as our correspondent, Advocate L. Rajadurai, for their cooperation, coordination, motivation, and full support for conducting this type of academic programs in our college. I once again thank one and all. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, dear Principal, for the nice words and the presidential address. Let me now invite our correspondent, Advocate L. Rajadurai, to speak a few words during this occasion. Sir, you have to unmute. Correspondent, sir.
Okay, sir. Please. Sir,
Yes,
now
yes.
what you
Yes.
Okay. Good morning to everybody. First, I express my thanks to Almighty for providing this opportunity to felicitate in the particular very nice meeting arranged by the Department of Physics. Most respected principal of the college, Dr. K. Paul Roy, and HOD of the Department of Physics, Dr. Sheila Christie, and the co-organizing secretary, Dr. Arul Das, and Dr. Devakumar Samuel, the then HOD of the Department of Physics, and the IQAC coordinator, Professor T.B. Thomas, and all other participants from all the corners of the state, as well as the resource person, Dr. I. Hubert Joe, an alumni of DNMCC. First of all, I express my welcome to everybody on as a correspondent of the NMCC. Now, indeed, it is pleasure for me to felicitate in this very nice program under the topic at Terahertz Generation Studies of NLO crystal. Even openly say, I have no knowledge about any of these, but I have no knowledge about any meaning with regard to the particular thing. But now from the mouth of the principal, I came to know what is the particular meaning of terahertz. So I think this program will be useful for everybody. Now, once again, at the capacity as a correspondent, I congratulate Dr. Sheila Christie. She is a very simple but a strong HOD of the Department of Physics. Now, in one case, I can say that she is a shield of Christie for the Department of Physics. A very nice program has been arranged by that particular department HOD. And once again, I congratulate all the co-workers of the particular department and all other participants. Once again, I thanks to everybody. Let this program be success for everyone, including me. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, dear correspondent, for joining us in spite of your busy schedule. So thank you so much. Now we go to today's webinar topic, Terahertz Generation Studies on NLO crystal. But before going into the topic, let me invite the organizing secretary of this webinar, Dr. Arul Das, the Associate Professor of Physics, to introduce our resource person.
Good morning to all. This gives me a pleasure to introduce our chief guest, Dr. I. Hubert Joe, Associate Professor in Physics, University of Kerala. He is having 30 years of teaching experience. He is specialized in quantum chemical computations, vibrational spectral analysis of biologically active molecules, nonlinear optical materials characterization using Z-scan, and also optical fiber grating. He has produced 18 PhDs and also completed 5 major research projects. For his credit, he has published 212 papers, research papers in international journal, and also 342 papers in conference and proceedings. He has participated 5 conferences in abroad, in South Korea, Germany, and Australia. And also he has acted as sectional recorder in physical science section of 100th and 101st Indian Science Congress. And also he is a member, sectional member of Indian Science Congress Association. And also he is a good reviewer of different journals like Journal of Raman Spectroscopy, Journal of Physical Chemistry A, Analyst, Chemical Physics Latest, Spectrochem Acta, Journal of Molecular Structure, Molecular Simulation, Journal of Luminescence, Computational and Theoretical Chemistry, International Journal of Chemistry, Chemical Physics, then International Journal of Chemistry, Physics and Chemistry of Solids, Journal of Molecular Modeling, Journal of Physical Chemistry, Chemical Physics, and Chemical Data Collection. We have such an eminent person as our chief guest. Sir will be giving talk on Terahertz Generation Studies on NLO crystals. Now I call upon our chief guest, Dr. I. Hubert Joe, for his presentation. Thank you.
Good morning, respected Professor Dr. Devakumar Samuel. Is it audible?
Yes.
Principal of this college, Dr. Paul Raj. I think we both are the contemporary. I think he was studied in the botany department and I was in the physics department. Correspondent, Advocate Rajadurai. Head of the department, Dr. Sheila Christie, and the organizing secretary, Dr. Arul Das. Good morning to you all. I'm very happy to here once again to give a talk in my old college. So I'm really very happy because in front of my professor, I'm giving a lecture. He was teaching actually 3 years he was teaching me. So anyway, it's a nice time. My topic is Teragat's generation studies of NLO crystal. Okay, is it okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, first of all, I would say Teragat's radiation. Principal has explained slightly about Teragat's radiation. You know, different regions of the electromagnetic spectrum gives the different information of the molecules of the system. So we know that the electromagnetic system, say radio wave, microwave, then IR, then X-ray, gamma ray. So we know that radio communication, radio frequency normally used, microwave, micro region. So nearly 10 to the power 3 hertz is radio frequency, 10 to the power 6 mega, that microwave, and giga 10 to the power 9 radar region, that is again a microwave region. In between, then again next visible, that is the electronic spectra. UV visible region is the electronic spectra, that is the electronic level transition. Then X-ray, you might have studied the X-ray structural determination. By X-ray we are normally used. Then gamma ray for the molecular symmetry and the property of the molecular study is gamma. Gamma ray, mass spectroscopy normally gamma ray is used. X-ray for structural determination. Electronic level transition UV and visible. Then microwave, infrared is the vibrational spectra. Rotational level transition is the microwave spectra. Again NMR, we are using a radio frequency. ESR, again we are using a microwave. So gamma ray, we are mass spectra. So different regions of the electromagnetic spectrum gives the different information. Now, my focus of this topic today is a Teragat's region. So Teragat's region is in between microwave and infrared region. So we know that 1 terahertz is 10 to the power 12 hertz, around 300 micrometer, that is 33.3 centimeter minus 1. That is in between 0.1 to 30 millimeter, our region. So it's a very, very small region. So the gap is no current semiconductor technology can efficiently convert electrical power into electromagnetic region on this range. So in this region is very small region, very crucial. So what is the importance of this range or this radiation? First of all, I would like to give the importance of this region, then I'll talk about it. Okay. So I just tell you that the electronic level transition gives in the UV visible radiation, vibrational level transition gives the infrared spectra, rotational level transition gives the micro region, and the X-ray, we know that the radiation gives the X-ray. So again, the different regions, I just explained that. Now, so I told you terahertz, the range 0.1 to 10 terahertz. So the wavelength is 3 millimeter to 0.03, sorry, 3 millimeter to 0.03 millimeter range. It's a very small range. Wave number is 3.3 centimeter minus 1 to 333.6 centimeter minus 1. Energy is 0.41 to 41 MeV, million electron volts. Now see, the region, terahertz is a very small region, 1 to 10, 0.1 to 10 terahertz region. It's a very small region. So why use of the terahertz region? It is non-invasive and non-destructive, rich in unique process information, real-time measurement, intrinsically safe, applicable to a wide range of processes. These are the general use. Now, I told you that terahertz region is a very small region. So this energy is 1 million times smaller than a X-ray photon. So there is a low photon energy, approximately 4 MeV, and will not cause harmful photoionization in biological tissues. So since the energy is very small, that is almost 10 to the power 6 million times smaller than X-ray photon, it will not be any harmful to the photoionization of the biological tissues. So at terahertz frequencies, numerous organic molecules exhibit strong absorption and dispersion due to dipole allowed rotational and vibrational transitions. So we know that microwave rotational transition is the rotational spectra, that is rotational, and infrared is the vibrational transition. So in between microwave and infrared. So these transitions are specific to the molecule and enable terahertz ray fingerprinting. Now, being a non-ionized and not break any bond, chemical bonds or ionized molecules or atoms, terahertz photons are harmless for living organisms as opposed to higher energy photons such as X-rays and UV rays that are considered to be so bad for us. We know that suppose if a person had some accident, so immediately we should take the X-ray, but inside the X-ray lab, that X-ray technician will not allow the bystander to go inside. The reason is that X-ray is harmful to our human being. So that will affect, that will system, will break the bonds. That is not good for our normal body or health. So normally the technicians, you asked to say, go out, sit outside, normally not to enter the lab. So it is not safe for human beings. But when you come to this terahertz, since the energy is very low compared to X-ray, it is safe for humans. So terahertz imaging technology has opened up infinite opportunities for medicine that, like other applications, can surely benefit from penetrating capability of terahertz waves to make the invisible to visible, invisible visible, and visualize internal information about physical objects. Nothing can be hid. Everything it is visible. So that is the advantage, because it is easily penetrated. Even if it is a water content, it is easily absorbed. You can get the image. So that is the first benefit of this terahertz. So as I told you, terahertz radiation is not ionizing, and it's not highly scattered in terahertz in tissues, unlike optical emission. Besides, there are strong water absorption regions of the electromagnetic spectrum, which therefore means that imaging using terahertz radiation would be a useful tool to investigate soft tissues. These unique properties of terahertz rays make them eligible for use in various medical applications. Since the radiation is not harmful, it is easily strong in water absorption, so it can be used for many medical applications. I'll just give some of the examples. Just terahertz in oncology. You know, cancerous tissues mostly originate in the epithelium. So excessive biopsy to remove tissue from the body and examining it under a microscope is the gold standard for cancer diagnosis. We know that. Suppose if there is any small thing is there, normally used to put a small fine needle deep into this particular portion, take a cell or tissues, using a histopathological analysis, they will confirm. But the problem is you have to specify the exact location. So inserting a needle into a particular portion is very harmful, very painful. But suppose if you repeat the same thing, it will be very difficult because the patient cannot say withstand all these things. So in order to locate a exact position, so Terragut's technology has the potential to greatly improve conventional biopsy and associate surgery by more precisely identifying the areas to be excised, thereby reducing the number of procedures and facilitating earlier and more accurate diagnosis. So instead of repeating pierce the needle in the portion, so once you pierce the needle in the particular portion, suppose the cancer cells in a different position, so again the result will be negative. Again we got to do the same procedure. So again it will repeat again. So this will helpful to identify the exact location. As the technology matures, it may be possible to perform biopsies using live Terragut's imaging of affected area, making possible point of care optical biopsy. So when you just before doing the biopsy, so you have to identify the exact location, and once you locate the answer, then exactly we can pierce the needle into that, you take a tissue, and then you can do the histopathological analysis. Now, just see, I just show some of the images. So this is a visible image of human tooth. Okay, this is a human tooth here. Just see. So you see clearly the Terragut's image of cavity of human tooth. So how much cavity is there? So what are things exactly you can visualize using the Terragut's image? Now, so just see the visible image of human tooth is like this, but just to take the Terragut's image, you can completely enamel only or enamel, and then so you can image clearly, you can see the visualize the thing, how our tooth is. So Terragut's imaging is able to distinguish between the different types of tissue in a human tooth. Data carries at an early stage in the enamel layer of human teeth and monitor early erosion of the enamel at the surface of the tooth. So you can see how our tooth is. So that you can visualize clearly. You can the rays easily just enter into this. You can get the imaging. So you can know our image. Then next time take the skin. Suppose say if you know that things are there in the early stage, you can do the medication and you can able to remove it, or you can remove it easily. Once it is so growing by later, it is very difficult. Now this is a Terragut's ability of Terragut's technology is used to distinguish between basal cell carcinoma and other forms of malignant, benign and healthy tissue associated with skin cancer and related diseases. Both extensive ex vivo measurements for tissue classification and histopathological use and preliminary in vivo measurements directly on patients can be conducted to quantify the information obtained by a Terragut's spectroscopy. I just see one of the examples. Just see a visible picture of patient foregut with suspect lesion. So you can see visibly this one, but you just take the Terragut's image, how the tumor is there. Histologically, slice confirms tumor. So you can visualize the tumor, how it is, how deep it is, you can able to find out. You can able to find out using the Terragut's image, because you can everywhere, wherever it plays, you can just pass a Terragut's radiation using a live imaging, you can able to get it. So using that you can identify the things. Now, see how depth it is. See, just see the surface and depth of information, how depth it is, the growth, how much it grows. So that you can get the clear picture about the Terragut's imaging technology. Now, then you can ask, nowadays, suppose in the case of breast cancer, Immediately, if there is a small growth is there, doctors are advised to take the mammogram. You know, the mammogram, they are using a X-rays. So doctors are not advised repeatedly doing this because of the X-rays will be harmful. When you do this targets, you can clearly get the image, the depth that is tumor, how depth it is, how the size it is. Then you can able to, it is easy. Even if a early stage, you can able to detect, you can easily remove from this person. So that you can save the patient, the life of the patient. Now, see, we know that the chocolate nowadays is the homemade chocolate. Everywhere you can see in Karnataka, in all the places, they are using a chocolates are the homemade. So in front side you can see it's a clear one, nothing inside. Just see front side and back side. You can see it's a highly shaped, nothing inside. But when you just take the image, you can see there are glass splinter, stone, small stones, chip, even a metal screw that is just get inside. You cannot able to see. When you just crush it with your teeth, sometimes it may break your teeth. So that type of thing you can able to see. Even your food items, even if there is any impurity, you can able to easily visualize using this targets image. Now, the case of security. So just see, this is a gentleman carrying a suit and pant, everything. With this pant inside, his gun is inside the pocket. Normally, if actually the securities used to just without anything, it's a gentleman, they just allow. But the man carrying a gun, so if you just pass a target screen or this, you can be able to find out easily. So this man is not a gentleman, this is a terrorist. So this you can be able to edit even a security applications. So in the other case, just see the gentleman having a newspaper in his hand, but inside the newspaper a sharp knife. But he just targets nothing. People are not asking anything. But when just pass through, it will immediately clearly give. So this man is not a gentleman. This man here is a knife. So be careful. So you can easily catch over him. So this is the advantage. So this is the targets. Now just see. So the man carrying, say, is wearing a shoe. So inside the shoe, a sharp knife is placed inside. In between the sole and the other, no. So it is clearly you can be able to identify. So this man is not say show this gentleman, but his thing is again is a crucial. Just see. So whenever you go to the airport, earlier they used to say should wear the shoe out and even a socks out. So now once this targets imaging set up in the airport, you need not wear any belt or any shoe or any socks, nothing. You can straight away go to the end of this one. Immediately it will easily identify that is any weapons or any gun or any explosives or anything is there. It will easily detect. Okay. Now see, this is the leaf. The target's imaging of leaf. This is fresh in leaf, fresh cut leaf. This one is after 48 hours. So the water is just leave it dry. There is light. So that you can able to see using the targets. How much it is wet, how much is dry, that you can able to get. So anyway, so just this is the image of this breast. So if there is any growth in your breast, it gives clearly made which part, which portion. So once you just locate the exact portion of the growth of the tumor, the doctors can remove the portion instead of the entire portion. Exact location, exact position can able to remove. So once you identify the exact location or the growth of this portion of the site, so the doctor can remove that much alone. So that is the advantage. So this can be used in imaging, radio astronomy, explosive detection. So communication, medicine, dentistry, homeland security, everything. So this is for tracing illegal drugs. So whether it is explosive or narcotic, so that spectra give the clear picture. So you cannot hide anything, make it invisible to visible. So earlier, in the airport, people are used to say Zolo gold instead of, so when you just bring it in the bag or hand, sometimes the customs officer may catch it. But the people are, what you do is they just use the soloed into this gold into this eating. Okay. So this targets easily identified. This man has something is there inside the mouth. So he cannot hide anything. That is the only advantage of these targets. Now see explosives. The gentleman wearing a coat just pass through. So the man having explosives inside this belt, it can be easily identified using this target. Nothing will be hide. Now, so since it is a water absorber, so it can be easily detect the difference of water content and density of a tissue. So there is any difference, it is easily identified. So there are something unwanted element is there, unwanted material is there, unwanted tissue is there. So it can easily give a clear picture. In that way you can early detect any growth on anything. We can remove it. We can say for this. So here, so say normally we know that a diabetic patient. So the acute diabetic patient, the blood content in the food is normally it is reduced. So just take the blood content, just take the control the blood. Here the content is more controlled. So once the diabetes acute, the things are different. You cannot able to walk. So the foods are sometimes nothing, no sensitive. That means there is no blood circulation is there. So in that way, you can easily detect using this targets imaging spectra. Nothing can be done. So this is easily you can find out. So how the water content. So from that you can able to find out. So you or the patient is acute. So you got to do the necessary treatment is required for this. So this is a simple way of testing. Now other moisture detection, remote sensing, environmental sensation, plasma dynamics. So see through sandstorms, active and passive imaging through dust, smoke, fog, all weather active and passive CKs. Secure communication, spectrographic sensing of explosives, gases and biologicals. So everything is possible in the case of targets imaging technology. Now you can ask, so what is the difficulty? Why it is not developing so much nowadays? So in order to generate coherent and tunable terahertz waves, very large facilities such as synchrotron radiation, source and free electron lasers are expensive. Femtosecond laser systems are generally required so far. So very large system, very huge amount of money is required to generate these waves. So in this regard, a development of compact and inexpensive terahertz wave source is important to popularize the terahertz wave used for the real application. So our young scientists, young chap or young buds scientists, so these are the things. So you got to develop a compact, inexpensive or slightly expensive terahertz or small compacts, small size required. So for that, what we got to do? So owing to the development of ultra short pulse laser technique, one can readily generate and detect terahertz generation if good non-linear optical crystal having enough macroscopic second order non-linearity are available. If you have a good high efficient NLO crystals are there, it can easily generate and detect terahertz radiation. So for efficient terahertz wave generation and detection, the NLO crystal is required to have large non-linear and low absorption coefficients. So these are the requirements of the generation of terahertz waves. So our young budding scientists are just see the highly efficient NLO crystals. We just grow it. It can easily radiate. Can easily detect the terahertz radiation. Now, I just start what is the nonlinear optics. So nonlinear optics is a study of interaction of electromagnetic field with materials in which the polarization P responds to nonlinearity to the electric field of the light. So if the polarization is directly proportional to the electric field, it is a linear. If it is non-linearly, if the electric polarizability is non-linear with the electric field, then it is non-linear. Now, just see the graph. So, first, non-linear optics started by the discovery of second harmonic generation shortly after the demonstration of the first laser. So, developed by Peter Franklin, the year 1961. So, photonics is analog to the electronics that describes the technology in which photons instead of electrons are used to acquire, store, transmit, and process information. So nonlinear optics plays the major role in the technology of photonics. Nonlinear optics plays the major role in the technology of photonics. I told you, if the polarization is linear with the electric field, then you say it's linear. Then now, one thing. So for the nonlinear studies, just we know. So when you do the simple pendulum, you know, professor is there. So when we do the simple pendulum, professor asked me to just oscillate a small oscillation, not the wide like a unjal. So small, asked us to do a small oscillation. The reason is we just oscillate widely, the amplitude is lower, then sin theta is not become theta, it becomes sin square theta, some other components, non-linear terms come. In that way, if the electric field strength of this radiation, electric field of the electromagnetic radiation is small, it behaves linear. If the electric field strength is large, the molecule behaves non-linearly. Okay. So in the case of input wave and the emitted wave have the same frequency, there is no change in frequency, then it is linear. Now, there is a non-linear optics, irradiation of one frequency and goes to another photon, two photon, and comes to one photon. So the emitted wave has different frequency than the input wave. That is non-linear. The electric field of the polarization is not linear with the electric field. So the emitted wave has a different frequency. Now, so linear, you know, this is a simple equation. I'm not going to any complicated equations. I'm going to only a simple equations. We know the linear P equal to epsilon 0 high E. So when you go to the non-linear, instead of high E, that is high 1 E plus high 2 E square plus high 3 EQ plus high 4 EQ, etc. We'll go. The case of non-linear. Okay. Now, just see the linear medium D equal to, is a simple equation, D equal to epsilon 0 E plus P, where P equal to epsilon 0 chi E. So these are the simple equation. So we know that D equal to E, epsilon equal to epsilon r epsilon 0 naught, epsilon r epsilon naught E, or epsilon r equal to 1 plus chi. For linear polarization, this is for linear polarization. So for linear polarization, P equal to epsilon 0 chi E. For the non-linear medium, so here D equal to epsilon 0 E plus P, where P equal to epsilon 0 chi E plus chi 2 E square plus chi 3 EQ plus chi 4 E to the power 4, that is equal to linear polarization plus non-linear polarization. So chi is the linear susceptibility, chi 2 is the second order non-linear susceptibility, High 3 is a third order nonlinear susceptibility. So linear is only P equal to epsilon 0 chi E. So when the electric field of the electromagnetic radiation increases, the medium becomes a non-linear. You get instead of E, the higher terms, E square, E cube, e to the 4. That is chi square, chi 3, etc. That will model increases. It's a case of non-linear polarization. Now, see, ordinary light normally 10 to the power 3 volt per centimeter. So you'll get only the linear. In the case of 10 to the power 3 volt per centimeter, you will not get any non-linear term. You'll get the only linear. The electric field is polarization directly just proportional to the electric field. But if the electric field strength is comparable to the interatomic field strength, is of the order of 10 to the power 7 to 10 to the power 10 volt per meter. As I told you, the amplitude of the simple pendulum increases. We cannot take sin theta equal to theta. There are some nonlinear terms is comes. In that way, if the electric field strength of the electromagnetic radiation is 10 to the power 7 to 10 to the power 10 volt per centimeter, the molecule behave non-linearly. Instead of high 1e, you can get chi 2e square plus chi 3e cube, etc. Non-linear terms comes to play. So for that, we need a chi power laser of the order of 10 to the power 7 to 10 to the power 14 volt per centimeter power field strength, electric field strength is required for the non-linear optical studies. Peak density about 10 to the power 22 watt per centimeter square. So I told you, in the case of linear polarization, the polarization is just directly proportional. So this is a linear polarization, electric field polarization directly proportional electric field. What's the case of non-linear? This is not proportional. It's going to be changing. So this is linear polarization. This is the non-linear polarization. Now the question is it possible to change the color of the monochromatic light? Now, if you use the ordinary laser light about 10 to the power 3 volt per centimeter, you will not get any change in the emitted light. The incident frequency and the emitted frequency both are same. If you use the chi power laser, suppose if you are using 1064 NDR laser about high power, just a laser 1064, 1064 nanometer is a near IR radiation. That is, you cannot able to visualize, see the NIR light. Just if a NIR radiation, 1064 nanometer radiation is passed through the non-linear medium, the output will be a green light. You can visually see a green light about just half the wavelength or double the frequency. 534 frequency you can visualize, you can see. So if just pass through a one color, the output frequency will be a different color. Now the second order nonlinear effects, so high 2, third order high 3, etc. So second order nonlinear effects are focals, that is electro-optic emission, second hormone generation, that is double the frequency. Or double the frequency, half the wavelength. Some, that is different frequency generation, optical parametric amplification, oscillation or generation, optical rectification. Third order envelope effects means optical curve or quadratic focal effects. Third hormone generation, self-focusing effect, four-way mixing, two-photon absorption, stimulated Raman or Brillouin scattering. These are the third order effects. Second order, so these are the second order effects. So these are the third order. That the electric field increases, you can get second order, third order, etc. You can able to get. Now, so the frequency, I told you this is the frequency doubling. So when a radiation of frequency omega is passed through it, sometimes if the efficiency of the crystal, the material, that depends on the material, is good, you can get the, say, it is very difficult to get the 100%. So most probably 70 to 80% radiation will be a double the frequency. Sometimes the same frequency also same there. So same color with a different color. Okay. So that depends on the efficiency of the material. The emitted radiation will be the same frequency or the double the frequency. Okay. Even though we are using a high power laser, depending on the material, the conversion efficiency, the emitted frequency will be the frequency, double the frequency, the efficiency. It may be 50% or 60% or 70%, that depending on the material. You can get it. So in addition to the incident frequency. Now, suppose you are doing a two frequencies, omega one frequency, omega 2 another. So that is mixing the frequency in the medium, nonlinear medium. You can get the another frequency. That is, suppose omega 1 is the one frequency, omega 2 is another frequency. The emitted radiation contains omega 3, that is omega 1 plus omega 2. That is some frequency generation. Similarly, omega 1 is one frequency, omega 2 is another frequency. The emitted radiation is omega 1 minus omega 2, different frequency generation. You can get it. Now, so since the phase matching, since the optical media is dispersive, the fundamental and harmonic signals have different propagation speed inside the media. The harmonic signal generated at different points interfere destructively with each other. So you can get a different way, different thing you can able to get it. So that is the third order non-linearities. Suppose when the laser beam has Gaussian intensity profile, the intensity, if it is a good laser, so there are different lasers are available nowadays, but the intensity of profile is a Gaussian shape. So it can induce a Gaussian refractive index profile inside the annular medium. You can get the material acts as a lens. Maybe a focusing or defocusing effect may occur. Okay. Now, the simple equation that is I already told you. Okay. Now, say this is a 2-photon absorption. So 1 photon. So the emission will be almost the same frequency with the different color. That is a 2-photon absorption. So here, so this is the 2-photon excitation, 2-photon this is 1 photon excitation, this is a 2 photon. So this is 1 photon, same, but here the 2 photon here. So absorption of 1 photon here, then again one more photon goes to another state. So 2 state, that is 2-photon process. So this is 2-photon emission, excitation. This is 1 photon, same only one state. So here there are 2 photons are there. 1 photon, it goes to this level, and again another photon incident on it, it's go to this level. There is 2-photon process. Now, if the molecule is centrosymmetric, then the first order capable stability, that is beta, is 0. Indicate that centrosymmetric media do not show second harmonic generation. About second harmonic generation, beta, what I mean is P equal to alpha E plus 1 by 2 beta E square plus 1 by 6 gamma E2, etc. So alpha is a stability, beta is a capable stability, gamma is the second capable stability, like that. So beta is the first order capable stability. So E 0 for the centrosymmetric crystal. For those crystals having a centrosymmetry, you will not get any beta value. In a field E applied to a medium, the above equation predicts the first non-linear term beta E square. So that beta will be 0. So beta will be 0 in the case of molecules having a centrosymmetry. So centrosymmetric crystals or compounds will not give the beta value. Now, just I am telling how to prepare. What is a nonlinear optical material? So nonlinear material is nothing but one donor, one acceptor, one pi conjugate system. So that is donor. So the electrons, charges are passing through the pi conjugate system, go to the acceptor. So there is a common system. Okay. Just see, I just tell you how the electro-optic behavior. So this is single bond C, double bond C. How the pi electrons are more polarized, more easily perturbed. Sigma electrons and pi orbital. Just see. Now, how to design an envelopome. I just see some example like that. So electron donor, pi conjugated bridge, electron acceptor. These are the requirement, nothing else. So you can able to change the donor and acceptor. So if you just extend your pi conjugate system, definitely the efficiency will increase. You can just change the donor or change the acceptor. You can change the efficiency of system. I told you the efficiency is very, very important. So that depending on the efficiency of the material, you can able to use any other purposes. You can use the targets or other purposes or other applications, high efficient NLO material is required. So for that, you have to properly select a donor, properly select an acceptor and a PyCon system. You can get a good, a highly efficient NLO material. Okay. So the charges are moved. Just I'm showing animation. That's all. How the charges are moved from donor to acceptor via pi conjugated system. Now, so here, so instead of developing a system experimentally, there are some softwares are available. You can theoretically predict. So you can put one donor and acceptor, one PyCon system. You can theoretically predict a value, how much beta is there, how much gamma is there. In that way, you can, so once you find out theoretically predict a high value beta or gamma, you can start preparing a material. In that way, you can save the money and time and energy. So we just theoretically, there are softwares are available in free softwares or paid softwares are there. So normally I used to use the Gaussian software. So in that software, I can able to calculate theoretically first order capability, second order capability. So that way I can properly select the donor, select acceptor and PyCon system. So that the problem is for simple computer, you can go up to 50 atoms. If you go more than 50 atoms, you need a high level computer is required. So for ordinary things, 50 atoms normally PC is required. It's enough to compute the things. So that if you use this, you can able to find out. You can able to proper selection of donor, proper selection of acceptor, and the PyCon system. You can prepare a material. So you can theoretically calculate it. Once you find out this is a good value, then you can go to the experiment. So that is a good thing. Yeah. So normally choose the ideal molecule, get an initial geometry from either molecular mechanics or X-ray analysis, select the model Hamiltonian, use DFT, optimize the molecule, compute Gomo-Luma energy. That is just like a semiconductor balance band and conduction band. Like the molecule, this is GOMO, highest occupied molecular orbital and lowest unoccupied molecular orbital. You can able to calculate the energy gap. So that if the energy gap is low, it is easily possible to transfer the electron charges from the highest occupied molecular orbital to unoccupied molecular orbital. That you can able to calculate all these things in the software. So in that way, you can able to get the idea. So I'm just give some of the donor acceptor system. Okay. So here, some of the organic molecules, this low cost, ease of fabrication and integration into devices, high optical non-linearities, low dielectric constant, fast response time, high electro-optic coefficient, high laser diameter. So these are the importance. So this is why organic materials are required. You can select any material. Okay. So I'm just one material, N, phenyl, aniline, phenyl, alanium, nitrate. One compound I've just it was published in the year 2011, the Journal of Molecular Structure. So I just using the I prepared just as L-phenyl alanine and nitric acid in the ratio 2:1. I just got the wood crystal and I just optimize based on the calculation only. So I just calculate theoretically using the optimized geometry and all these things. I just not go into all these things. Okay. So I just calculated beta value theoretically, first order capable stability, and then also I can calculate the second order also. Calculated, I just find out this the value is this 3.85 d by or 1.593 10 to the power minus 30 ESO. I can compare with the some standard material also. So normally we used to take the urea because some people are taking a KDP, potassium dihydrogen phosphate, because the value of urea is much high than KDP. So I used to take the value of urea. You know what is the peculiarity of urea? It has a good second hormone generation crystal, urea. Suppose if you want to buy a 50 kilo of urea, there is one bag full urea, you can buy say 1,000 rupees. One packet 50 kilogram of urea, a small say powder urea, you can buy about say 1,000 or 500 or 1,000 rupees only. But if you want to buy a 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter urea, you have to go even more than lakh rupees are required. So that is the advantage of the crystal. If you just buy a 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter urea crystal, you can get more than 1 lakh rupees. At the same time, you can buy a 50 kg of urea, you can buy 1,000 or 500 or 1,000 rupees, less than 1,000 rupees only. So that is the advantage. So it is a good non-linear optical crystal. It's high efficient crystal. But compared to this, there are so many other crystals are there. But so this is a normally using a standard one. We used to compare the urea crystal as the standard one. Now we just calculate the theoretically using this formula. We can compute and all these things. We can calculate it. We can just calculate the HOMO LUMO. That is, I told you, highest occupied molecular orbital and lowest occupied molecular orbital. So this is the color is nothing but how the electron charge distribution in this HOMO, how the electron charge are distributed in the LUMO. That you can able to get it from the software. So how the electrons or clouds are there. So how the electron charge that occurs, movement are there, charge transfer occur. That you can able to get it from this figure. So this is a charge, how the charges are transferred, just an animation, that's all. Now, so I'm using this instrument. So this is a purely that is installed by our own lab. Okay. So here you can see this is a crystal. So this is a green, no? This is not a green crystal. This is a transparent white crystal, transparent crystal. But I just pass a light. So this is the laser is coming like this. 1064 nanometer radiation. That I told you 1064 nanometer is a near infrared laser. That is, you cannot able to visualize the laser. But when the laser light of 1064 nanometer just instant on the crystal, it glows green. That means it has the ability to convert one frequency, that is double the frequency or of the wavelength. 1064 nanometer and just instant on the laser in a material, but the crystal emit 534 nanometer, that is green color. So this material has an ability to high efficiency to convert one frequency to another frequency. So this is for a crystal setup. And if you use the, sorry, this is for powder. This is for powder. Then this is for a single crystal. Suppose we have a crystal, you can orient in any direction, X, Y, Z. You can change the direction. Suppose the value of the theoretical predicted and the experimental one is not same. Maybe different reason. The reason is, so we are calculating this for a highly quality crystal. So flawless, high quality crystal, highly oriented crystal, we just give a value exactly same. Okay. So if you just see the crystal is cold like this, just a laser is passing to this, you can get the signal. Okay. So there are different things are there. This is for crystal setup. This is for powder setup. This is for powder, not the crystal. This is the powder. Now, so you can just from the area you can get it. The area for this is the intensity. So for the area, this is for L-phenyl-phenylalanine, this crystal. So in that way you can able how many times greater than this one. So you can able to get it from this figure. So that way you can find out, theoretically you can predict and experimentally you can compare. Once you theoretically find out this crystal is good, you can experimentally prepare and then you can study this crystal. Then you can go to the third order nonlinear. So for third order nonlinear process, there is again a 2 photon absorption. So ground state, 1 photon, go to the virtual state, and again it absorb another photon, go to the. So I told you the material may be focusing or self-defocusing. So the material will effectively acts as a positive lens and causes the rays to curve towards each other. So just see, when the material is just moving, the rays passing to the material, it acts as a lens, positive lens. So this is for self-defocusing. The material start becoming like a negative lens. This diverging instead of converging, it's a diverging. So this is defocusing. The other one is a focusing lens. This is a non-focusing. So these are things you are able to get from third order only. That is, other one is the earlier one is the second order non-linear process. This is the third order. So third order non-linear optical properties can be studied by EZ scan technique. It's a simple method, simple, sensitive, and most accurate method. So again, indigenously, I got one project in the DRDO about 30-45 lakhs. I got this fabricated in my lab only. So there are two techniques. One is open aperture. So then closed aperture. From the one open aperture, there is you can get the non-linear absorption coefficient and also imaginary part of the third order susceptibility high 3. In the case of closed aperture, you can get the nonlinear refractive index N2 and the real part of the third order susceptibility high 3. Okay. Now, so I told this is the formula, simple formula that is used for calculating the nonlinear absorption coefficient and nonlinear refractive index. Okay. Now, the simple technique, the sample is translated in the Z direction along the axis of the focused Gaussian beam, and the far field intensity is measured as a function of sample position. We just sample is moved along the propagation direction of the laser, along the Z direction. So you get, depending on the sample, either it may be focusing or defocusing. You may get it. Now just see. So this is the laser, simple technique. Okay, so laser is here, again some system. So the system is passing through this. So this is the two, I told you this is open aperture. There is no slit in the closed detector. Okay, so this is sample compartment. Sample is moved this plus Z and minus Z. This is moved this direction. Okay, so you can get this curve like this. So this is for reverse saturable absorption curve like this. Okay, so this is open aperture, reverse saturable absorption. The case is curve like this. The opposite direction is the saturable absorption. So that depends on the sample. You can get either reverse saturable absorption or positive saturable absorption. So in the case of this one, is you get like this. This is a small aperture is placed before the detector. So this is a closed aperture. So in the case of open aperture, there is no slit before the detector D2. There are two detectors are there. So before the detector, there is no slit is there. In the case of open aperture, there is a slit is there in between the sample and the detector. The detector 2, there is a closed aperture. Now, so this is beta value negative in the case of reverse saturable absorption. Beta is negative in the case of saturable absorption. Beta is negative. Say the case of this reverse saturable absorption, beta is positive. The case of saturable absorption, beta is negative. So this is the case for self-focusing. So this is self-focus. N2, nonlinear refractive index is greater than 0. So this is valley followed by a peak. Valley followed by a peak. This is self-focusing. So the case of self-defocusing, say peak followed by a valley. So N2 is less than 0. So from the graph, whether the molecule is from the open aperture, you can get it whether it's beta value, that is nonlinear absorption coefficient. Okay, so that is beta positive or beta negative, and the nonlinear in the case of closed aperture, we can get whether it is a nonlinear refractive, it is positive or negative. You can able to get it. So positive in the case of valley to peak, negative in the case of peak to valley. Now, the experiment is very simple. We are using a ISO-scan setup using a Nd:Arc laser with 5 nanosecond pulses with a repetition rate of 10 Hz, giving a second harmonic at 533 nanometer. Okay. For the case of gamma, that is gamma or the third order nonlinear hyperpulsability, we are using a 532 nanometer. The case of second order hyperpulsability, we are using a 1061 nanometer. So there is a system is there. We can able to convert the 1064 to 532 by placing a crystal is there, so that you can able to convert 1064 to 532. So 532 nanometer source we are using for ISO-scan set for use for the third order nonlinear susceptibility or third order hyperpulsability, and 1064 is for beta or the second order hyperpulsability. So this is a propagation light, the focal like this. Okay. Now, this is, I just told you, this is the open aperture, this is the closed aperture. So, this is the formula used for nonlinear absorption coefficient. This is simple formula. So, that I think it's not required. Now, so this is the curve. We got this open aperture and closed aperture curve like that. So, now, next is the Terragut studies. So we have just calculated. First, we have computed using the Gaussian software. We found that this compound has a tendency of the nonlinear optical property. So we have just calculated the nonlinear optic, this one beta value and gamma value. We then just prepare the thing, material, and then we just find out the experimental setup using the Gaussian, that is Goodsbury setup, and the Terragut, that SS scan setup, we just find out the beta and gamma value. Now the compound is placed for the Terraget studies. Terraget setup is this, but this setup is very costly. It's not here. One of my friend in TAFR just he has given the setup and he has helped me to record the spectra. So this is a setup. It's a very costly setup. So this setup is used to record the Terraget studies. Here, see. So this is normally the case of reference. The peak is like this. The spectra is like this. The reference peak. If the reference comes in the same day, so this is the time picosecond. This is a time delay. So here, if it comes in the same, this is we are using a reference sample. Reference. This is for crystal, our crystal. So there is a shift occurs. So this is a reference say around this is say 55 something. 57 something nearly. See here it is shifted. That shows that this compound has a tendency to generate a Terraget. Okay, so the sample we have just done, we just placed the Terraget setup. We got the spectra. That spectra shows that there is a shift against from the reference. That gives that the compound, the material, the crystal has a tendency to generate a Terraget. Now, first we got the spectrum of this. So this region, so 1.4, 0.86 Teragets to 1.5. We can just scan. We got the spectra. So these are the bands are due to the intermolecular phonon modes of ammonia and nitrate, NO3 torsional modes. Normally, so vibrational frequencies from say 0 to 4000 wave number, 0 to 200 wave number is far IR, 400 to 4000 is mid IR, 4000 to 12500 is near IR. Normally, we people are giving importance only a mid IR. Why? Because mid IR region gives the many bands gives in the mid IR region. There is most internal bands that is stretching and bending or comes in the mid IR region. But most of the physical properties are comes in the far IR region. So here, far IR region is below 200 or 400 wave number region. So that modes, so physics, most of the physical properties. So only the mid IR region gives what are the components are there, what are the groups are there, whether this groups are there, this then you can able to identify using the mid IR. So we are preparing some samples. We just take the IR, we just find out the banks, just locate which are the groups are there. You can identify it. Oh, this structure is there, these groups are there. So you can just find out the structure. But for the low frequency region, that gives the good information about the physical property. You can just say even a phase transition. So most of the things that comes to the low bands region. So here, so these phonon modes, ammonium, NH3 and nitrate modes are responsible for the generation of these modes. 0.02, 1.31 terahertz. These peaks are the intermolecular phonon modes and the torsional modes. That is torsional modes and external modes. External means normally we used to say that is the rotation and liberation, translation and liberation. So that is attributed to, that peaks are attributed to, that is a far IR region. That is rotational torsional mode. That is the torsional modes of or rotational modes of NH3 and NO3 mode groups. So that is responsible for the generation of the Terraget waves. So we just calculate the other things, beta value, gamma value, and all things. So that's the property. So once you have a gamma, that is the efficiency, have a good efficiency crystal. So definitely that will give the Terraget wave. So that is, you can have that things, that crystal can be used for Terraget detection and generation. Okay. So So we have just calculated and just so theoretically we can predict the first order capable stability and second order capable stability. So from that you can able to find out the molecular NLO property of the crystal. So once you find this beta is guy and gamma is guy, you can experimentally procure a material and can just prepare a crystal or grown a crystal, and then you can study experimentally using the Woodsbury method or it's a scan technique both. But in the case of those crystals having a centrosymmetry, you will not get the beta value. Only crystals having a non-centrosymmetry, only you will get the beta value. You can get the gamma for both centrosymmetry, as well as the non-centrosymmetric crystal. You will get the gamma value, and that crystal, if you have a good efficiency crystal, that will give that place the Teragat's generation setup. So you can able to get the spectra. So that is give the that will be get the Teragat's generation spectra also. So in that way you can able to develop. So good, if you just prepare a good NLO crystal, definitely that crystal will generate a Teragat's wave. So that will help to the society in a better way. So you can just change the scenario from the present X-ray to Teragat's wave. In this way, all invisible to visible. So make it everywhere in a Teragat system. So I think in France, they've already installed in the airport, just replace the X-ray system by a Teragat system. So once the Teragat system is installed, the present X-ray system, all the X-ray system will go away. The system, new generational new scenario will come. Okay. So the young scientist, young budding scientist, try to develop a good NLO crystal and try to study this Teragat's generation studies. So that will be able to help the society in a better way. Thank you. Thank you. So welcome questions. You can ask. Thank you. Ben.
Thank you so much, sir, for the highly informative session. We have the question session now. I request the participants to raise your hands. If you hand raise, we can give you a chance to ask questions directly, or you can raise your questions in the chat box. I request the organizing secretary, Dr. Arul Das, to continue with the question and answer.
Sir, I will read the questions now.
Yeah, okay.
I request sir to answer the questions. These questions are asked by Shanmuga Sundari. Sir, do you have SKG measurement setup?
Yes, I am having it. Yeah, in my lab I am having, yes.
Next question from Dr. N.D. Devi. Sir, can you tell me the available free software for these calculations?
Gaussian free software, Gamma software is there. Gamma software is there. Gamma.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Next question from Kiran Kumar. Mr. Kiran Kumar.
Yes.
What is the software used to calculate SKG measurement?
You can use a Gaussian software. It's the best one. That's actually it's a costly software. You can buy. You can do it. You can get the correct value, almost correct value. You can get it. Gaussian 09. Now it is 60 is available. Gaussian 16 is available nowadays, but it is slightly costly. You can don't go for pirated version. But if you go to the pirated version, you cannot able to publish the paper. Once you publish the paper, you can say it's a copyright against the copyright. That will spoil your life. So don't do that. You can do using a say corrected buying a software. Don't go to the pirated software. So pirated by software, you cannot able to say publish a paper. If you publish a paper, you will be punished under a copyright. So it is a punishable one.
Next question from Mr. R.G. Logeshwar.
Okay.
Software side, sir.
Software.
site.
Say Gaussian, so Gaussian, GAU is saying Gaussian 09 is there, 016, latest version 016, sorry, Gaussian 16 software.
Okay.
There
Next
are other softwares are there. Some that is Schrodinger software. There are so many other shops are there, but it is so costly. There are so many softwares are there. There are so many, but these are more popular. Schrodinger, Gaussian, these are more popular.
next question
Ah,
from Dr. Josephine Gladia.
ah.
Why we don't prefer KDP single crystal?
Yeah, because I said told you the efficiency, the conversion efficiency of the KDP is small when compared with the urea. So normally, when you just go through the highest version, no? So when you just go to the gas, urea, then it's good. That's why we are taking urea, nothing else. Because KDP is easily you can grow it, you can do it. No, nothing is easy. You can put just a potassium diacetyl phosphate, you can just dissolve it. You can get a good crystal. It's a simple one. But it is very difficult to grow the urea crystal. But the efficiency of the urea crystal is more when compared with the KDP. That's why we are taking a reference as the urea.
Question from Mr. Ramesh.
Ah.
Where is SKG measurement setup available?
There are setup available in different places, but my place it is there. I am using in my own setup. In IISc it is there, Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. But the problem is, you got to go there and you can do it. Because once you cannot send, you will get it. Nobody will do it. You got an appointment and then you go there and you can do it.
Next question from Josephine Gladia. In which method we can produce NLO crystals that is used for terahertz studies?
See, there are different methods are available. Crystal growth, low temperature methods are there, solution methods are there, gel methods are there. You can select any method, no problem. You can select any method, but for studying a crystal, good quality crystal is required. Flawless crystals are required for the terahertz generation studies. That's all.
The next question from same person. Sir, in which method we can produce NLO crystals that is used for terahertz studies?
That's the same question, I think. So, there are different types of high temperature growth are there, gel growths are there, solution growths are there. There are different growth. You can select any method, but the thing is, highly pure, flawless, single crystals are required. That's the only thing, nothing else.
Next question.
Yeah.
How can you find a good quality NLO crystal?
How can you find, So that, see, when you just go see, if there is any crack inside the crystal, that means there is flaw is there. But you just see there is no flaw inside the crystal, or you can put the polarization microscopes are there. There are polarization microscopes are there. You can just see through that, there is no crack, or there is no boundary inside, another boundaries are there, nothing else is there. Just you can able to fix, this is a good crystal. There's no other way. That's the only thing you can do it by polarization microscope only, you can just go there. Otherwise, see, the good crystal you can see, you can visualize. You can just clean it using if it is a water soluble one, you can just using a sand, filter paper, put a drop of water and just clean it and just see that you can, if it's a crystal is a good transparent, in any flaws, this you can see, you can fix this a good crystal, nothing else.
Sir, next question from Agilash Sri. Is there any uncertainty in Gaussian beam, sir, to apply the fuzzy sets and system?
Which one? Hello?
Is there any uncertainty in Gaussian beam?
Gaussian beam.
To apply in fuzzy systems and fuzzy sets and systems.
Theoretically or extremely, what do you mean that I don't understand? What is theoretically?
Fuzzy, F-U-Z-Z-Y, fuzzy sets.
Gaussian, laser Gaussian. Once more, read please.
Is there any uncertainty in Gaussian beam?
Yeah. But see, that is important. If there is the Gaussian beam is not there, you cannot get the good. The value will be different. So one of the main important of the selecting the source is very, very important. So practically, you just start initially you can calculate the source, whether the source is a Gaussian beam. If it is not Gaussian, the result you may not get it. For that, sometimes you have to wait for even a 1 hour or 2 hours for get a good proper Gaussian beam. If there is any fluctuation, the beam may not be Gaussian. So for that, you have to wait some time for getting this one. So only pure Gaussian beam only you will get a good result. Otherwise, the result will be not correct.
Next question from Mr. Kuppusamy. Is there any phase matching angle to get high efficient terahertz?
Actually, that I never undergone there. I think no need, because if you just with the good crystal, they will place it in a different orientation. So in that they will get it. Good quality crystal is required. That's all. Yeah.
Okay. So next question from Sujita. How can a inner crystal produce a different color for a monochromatic source?
Yeah, that's I told you. So if when electric field of the electromagnetic radiation is high, the polarization of the material is not directly proportional to the electric field. You will get, in addition to high 1, high 2, high 3, etc. So that molecule can ability to change one frequency to another frequency. You can say suppose 1064, 532, 532 again half, again half. That way you can get it. So the only thing is that depends on the material, the efficiency of the material, and the electric field of the electromagnetic. That's all. That's the property of the medium. That's all. Property of the material.
Okay. Thanks. Next question from Mr. Dinesh Raja. Does the size of the crystalline powder plays a major role in SHE efficiency?
Actually, in IASC, so that depends on that powder also. That is the size, grain size. So that they're studying depending on the grain size, the property is slightly changing. Yes. So by polycrystalline samples are oriented in a different direction. So in that way, they are studying in a different polarization. That is a different particle size. They are doing this study in IASC. Yeah, that's a change occurs. Yes, it's there.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. So, is there any more question?
I think there are a few people who have raised their hands. We could give a chance to 1 or 2 of them. Let me ask Molly M. Rose to kindly unmute and ask the question if he or she has a question. I don't know whether she has a question. I think there is another hand raising from Madam Shanmuga Sundari.
Yes, sir. Good morning, sir. It's a very nice presentation. Thank you for your ideas, sir. Sir, I'm actually working in a DAS-based crystals and some NLO crystals also.
Yeah.
That's why I asked whether you are having the second harmonic generation facility.
Yes.
Sir, yes, thank you, sir. Thank you. Sir, is it for a powder sample or for a crystal?
Both. I was just showing you. Both you can do it. Both powder as well as crystal.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, and what about the Z-scan setup, sir? Are you having the Z-scan?
Yeah. Please with me.
Okay, sir. Because we grown some DAS-based crystals and we tested for terahertz efficiency also. But due to the lack of facility, we couldn't approach the IASC and then some other places for the Z-scan. That's why I asked you.
There is no such scanning. I think IASC. Yeah.
No, sir, not an IASC. I asked in VIT Chennai. They are having that Z-scan setup. Because of this pandemic situation, we can't move anywhere.
Okay.
So that is why I asked this question. So it's a very nice presentation and thank you, sir. Okay. Sir, could you please share your contact details so that in future we can contact you?
Yeah. Okay, I'll just.
Yes, sir.
You buy 944 hubertjoe@gmail.com. That's all.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
hubertjoe@gmail.com.
Yes,
That's
sir.
all. That's my email address.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Then I'll.
Or hubertjoe@keralauniversity.ac.in.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay.
I thank you, the organizer, for giving me this.
Thank you, madam. Thank you. There is another question. I think Karupuswamy. Mr. Karupuswamy, you have a question? If Mr. Karupuswamy has a question, you can unmute and ask the question. Anbucharian, sir. There is a hand raising from Mr. Anbucharian. Do you have a question?
Hello, sir. Yes, sir. This is Karupuswamy from SSN, Chennai.
Yes.
Hello.
Yeah, hello. Yeah.
Yeah, you are audible. You can ask the question.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes. Actually, we have grown many crystals in bulk form by SRS rotation. We have many crystals we have, but we are more interested to generate teragates. But I have small doubt, sir. So in second order generation, for the orthomic system or uniaxial, biaxial crystal, we find out the Rifford index measurement, what different axes to find out the phase matching angle.
Yes, yes.
That angle only generated the harmonic.
Yeah.
But in case using the some phase matching, is there any possibility to improve the efficiency of teragates?
That exactly I don't know, because the system is, I don't have any system, but that I have to ask. That definitely I think that depends on the axis. It will be, that definitely it will improve. That means in any system, if it is oriented along the direction, definitely it will improve. Yeah, definitely it will there. It's there. Yeah.
Yes, so one more question. In interscan setup, how to choose the optimum Rayleigh length, sir? Because it depends on the Rayleigh length based on the lens, convex lens, and the diameter of the laser. So how to optimum Rayleigh length suitable for JustScan?
So that depends.
Because now we are arranging the JustScan setup. Now I struggle that point.
So you can call me later. I'll tell you, because slightly things are there. I'll tell you later.
Okay. Okay, sir. Okay. Nice presentation, sir. Thank you.
Okay,
thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. I. Hubert Joe, for the wonderful presentation. It was highly informative, and we had a good interaction. So let me now invite Dr. S.C. Jayakumar, Assistant Professor of the Department of Physics, to propose a vote of thanks. Before that, if you want to say something, sir?
Yeah. One more thing. Okay. I would like to thank the organizers for inviting me or giving me opportunity, because my old college, I'm an alumni, I think, as you told. So I take this opportunity to thank the organizers, Dr. Arul Das and the head of the department and the principal, for giving me the opportunity to deliver this talk. Thank you very much. Thank you one and all. Thank you so much, sir. Thanks.
So now over to Dr. S.C. Jayakumar.
Yeah. Okay.
Good morning to all of you. It is a great pleasure to propose vote of thanks for this August gathering. First of all, I thank God Almighty for protecting all of us during this pandemic time. Next, I thank our college correspondent, Advocate L. Rajadurai, for his enthusiasm and encouragement for this conduct of this webinar. Next, I thank our college principal, Dr. K. Palraj, for his motivation and support for this seminar. Next, I thank our chief guest, Dr. Hubert Joe, Associate Professor of Physics, University of Kerala, for giving a wonderful talk. Next, I thank Professor T.V. Thomas, convener of Internal Quality Assurance Cell, and his team for successfully arranging the Zoom platform for the conduct of this webinar. Next, I thank the organizing secretary of this webinar, Dr. D. Arul Das, for his sincere efforts. And he has done more than 80% of the work for this seminar. And because of his tireless efforts, this webinar has become a very successful one. Next, I thank the head of the Department of Physics, Dr. Arshila Gusty, and all the staff members of the Department of Physics for making this webinar a successful one. Next, I want to share my sincere thanks to my teacher, Professor Devakumar Samuel. From the starting of this seminar, he is keenly watching this webinar, and this shows his desire to learn new things. And in addition to that, it shows his love and affection for this college. I convey my special thanks to you, sir. Next, I thank all the participants. So this is not last, but only with the participation of 232 participants, the seminar has become a successful one. And this shows about the trust put by the participants on the N.M. Krishnan College, Marthandam, and the resource person, Dr. Hibertjo. Once again, I thank all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jayakumar, for the vote of thanks. Now, I think we have come to the end of the session. So once again, on behalf of the internal quality assurance cell of our college, we would like to express our thanks to the Department of Physics for organizing such a wonderful program by inviting a wonderful resource person also. We find the session very interactive and very informative for the participants. That's the kind of feedback that we have seen in the chat boxes, the responses given by the participants. So on behalf of the IQAC, on behalf of the management, principal, correspondent, all of us, we would like to express our thanks to the Department of Physics and Research, the head of the department, Dr. Sheila Christie, the organizing secretary, Dr. Arul Das, and the entire team behind this wonderful webinar. So thank you one and all. And we also express our gratitude once again to the resource person, Dr. I. Hibertjo, and all the participants who have come for this webinar. Thank you so much.